What's up, everybody? Mog here, and today we're going to take a look at a Legendary 5 call fight from Season 107 of Tacticus. My guildmate Naive was kind enough to let me use his replay for this video. It is going to be a turn 1 summon run, which is typically the hardest run out of the 3 possible scenarios that can happen in a call fight. So I thought it would be a good opportunity to showcase how to handle the summons early and set yourself up for a strong run afterwards. The character lineup, as always, is going to be posted on the left. We have a stereotypical call lineup with Karn and Dante filling out our flex roles. Karn is going to help us control the adds early on in the fight, and Dante is going to do a great job buffing up Carrion and Karn, while also giving us an opportunity to tank one of Call's beams. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Our deployment here is as follows. Karn is going to be on the left, Trajan's going to be next to him, then we have Carrion, Leviscus, and Dante over on that right-hand side. Goal for the turn 1 opener is to try to get as many adds off the board as we can. So one of the big reasons we bring Karn in this fight is to kill adds. So we are going to set him up on that left-hand side in order to be able to move him up and kill these 2 adds right here on that left-hand side. Carrion is going to be in a position where he can then come up and over and knock out this add right here, which is going to take 3 out of the 6 off the board on the opening turn, which is great. The other characters we're going to move towards the center of the board, really just to set up some turn 2 positioning, but they're not really going to do much. So if we go ahead and play this turn out, you're going to see Karn move up, Carrion move up like I just showed. Knock those adds out. We drop a spore down below on that bottom left-hand side of the map for 2 reasons. One of the reasons, it does help bait a beam location where we want it, and that is going to be in this channel of characters right here. If we were going to get a beam run, I know this is going to be a turn 1 summon, but just to kind of tell you why, that's why we put that spore there. Second reason is to kill adds if we were to get a turn 1 summon run, and you'll see here on the next turn after they summon why that spore is so important. So that's why we dropped that there. Pretty straightforward opener. Get the adds off the board. Turn 2 is going to be kind of the same deal. Make sure we kill as many adds as possible. If you get the board overwhelmed with adds, it's very hard to recover from, and it can mess up movement. It's going to make a bombardment much more likely from Call. So handle the adds early. Get them out of here. Use Karn to your advantage in order to make that happen. So adds are then going to move up to start the next turn. And we get the turn 1 summon. So I'm going to pause there just to kind of talk about the turn 1 summon. Turn 1 summon is annoying. It's not the end of the world, but you do have to make sure that you can handle the summons and get rid of them as efficiently as possible. So we actually get lucky with this spawn because 3 of them spawn right around our spore. Typically that does not happen. It's really nice when it does, and we got really lucky here, but it doesn't always happen. They can spawn anywhere in this little path right here. And if they do kind of spread out a little bit, it can be a little bit more annoying because on the first 2 turns, we don't get that Biovore active that we can work with. So we have to just drop 1 spore and hope for the best. In this case, it works out nicely because 3 of them are surrounding that spore, and it's going to kill those 3, really just leaving that one on the right-hand side alive. If that doesn't happen and we have some adds spread out, then we have to adjust a little bit, but I'll explain that in a second once I actually drop the spore and show you where it's at for this turn. But main thing here for this turn is just, like I said, getting the adds off the board and starting to do a little bit of damage into Call, while also setting up some positioning heading into the rest of the fight. So I'm going to let the turn play out. I'll explain all of the movements afterwards, and then explain that spore in order to make sure that we can handle that add that survives. So let this play. Karn's passive kills the first add. We move him up to kill the next 2. Carrion, Trajan, Dante, and Leviscus attack. So we don't use any actives on this turn. We kind of get everybody into position and block off Call from being able to move forward anywhere. And we really want to get him pinned kind of into this area on the map simply because of the high ground opportunities that we have. The areas right here are going to be high ground. The platform, which is what our characters are standing on and what you'll hear me refer to it as, right here offers some nice high ground opportunity, and we do have another high ground opportunity in this corner that we will utilize later on in the fight. The spore that we dropped, and to kind of explain how to make your life a little bit easier with these adds, there's a couple things that I do. First thing, the spore location here is positioned in a very particular spot because these adds that spawn, they have 3 movement. The thing is, though, if they can attack a spore from high ground, they can oftentimes overkill it. And we want to make sure that we get the spore away from high ground enough so that the ad comes all the way down to attack it. So knowing that this ad has 3 movement, you can see that I have this, well, I don't, but Naive position this spore away to be 1, 2, 3 units, so we can maximize that ad's movement to make sure that it's going to attack the spore on a nice level ground, causing it to kill the spore, but in return dying to the spore. So make sure you're measuring it out. Make sure that that ad does not have access to the spore from high ground, because it can and probably will oftentimes overkill that spore depending on what level you have it. So that's how we can handle this one particular ad. If you have 2 ads that survive, let's say we have another ad right here that survives. Okay, hypothetical scenario. Same deal here. You can only drop 1 spore, so you're going to pick one of the 2 ads to kill. All right. 99% of the time, I'm going to tell you to kill the ad on the right, because if an ad can get onto the platform and cause some movement issues or kill a spore that you put up there and let Cawl get onto the platform, that can be a huge headache. So right hand side, you want to kill that ad. Let the left hand side one live if you're going to pick out of the 2. But that's just my 2 cents on it. If you have a better way of going about it, or if you have a different run that you like to use, go for it. Okay. But I'm just going to show you how to handle at least one of the 2 ads. If you do get an ad that spawns here, it's the same kind of deal. You don't want it to be able to attack a spore from this position or this position, because it's still going to have high ground. So move your spore out into an area like here. You put a spore here or here, somewhere just away from high ground that the ad can still reach. So if it were to attack one of these spores, we could say like, okay, here's 1 movement and 2 movement. It attacks there. Or we go 1 movement, there could be 2, and it goes and attacks that spore. So just measure it out. Don't let it attack from high ground. Make sure one of the 2 ads dies. Okay. And like I said, typically I prefer to kill the ad on the right hand side, the one that's going to be closer to the platform. So that's kind of how you can handle the ads on a turn 1 summon. Having one of them survive is not the end of the world. It just is kind of is what it is. Right. That's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes with Cawl and the spawnings. So we got lucky here, but it's not always going to be the case. So let's go ahead and keep moving forward and look at the next turn, see that ad die, and now we go into a beam. Beam is kind of scary from Cawl. It does a ton of damage, but typically in this run, we can avoid it for the most part. We actually will use it to our advantage later on in the fight, but for right now, we're able to just kind of manipulate our characters away from the beam and start taking some high ground opportunities. So you'll see Dante is going to move up here. We are going to get Carrion up into another high ground slot. We're able to move Trajan into position. Karn, we can move out to make way for Leviscus. Really just doing as much as we possibly can in order to maximize high ground. It is turn 3, so Carrion is going to active as well here. So yeah, just kind of get everybody into position. Do some attacks. Dante is buffing both Carrion and Karn from this position. We finish the turn by attacking with Leviscus. The one thing I do want to make note here is the spore location. I told you guys that the ads, if they make it to the platform, can cause headaches. Reason is, this spore particular is going to block the movement from Cawl. So if Cawl can get onto this platform, he is going to get onto this platform. But by putting this spore in position here, it blocks all of the 3 hex places that he could jump to, such as right here, or it's going to be kind of hard to see. The colors are going to kind of overlap a little bit, or right there. Or if I just draw out another one, you could jump this. Really, we just want to make sure that those 3 hexes are blocked off, and the easiest way to do that is by putting a spore in the center. So the spore surviving in the center is going to be a nice, easy way to block that movement and keep Cawl off the platform, which is exactly what we want. So as we kind of finish out this turn, and as we start heading into the next turn, you'll see Cawl is going to do his little thing. He's going to do a little bit of shimmy action, not really move too much, and he's going to bring some ads out on the next turn. So let's go ahead and play that out and take a look. Okay, so like I said, Cawl does his little shimmy. He doesn't really move too much. He leaves us in a nice position still to maintain high ground for us, and he goes ahead and drops some of those ads down below. The nice thing is that we don't have to worry too much about the ads at this point, because we actually have Biovore active available to us, so we can most likely kill more than 1 ad. And also, the positioning of them being so far away from Cawl, it's not going to cause too much concern for our movement or causing Cawl to kind of like move down and jump towards them, whatever it might be. So not too worried about the second round of summons. The first one is definitely a lot more annoying. Second one, it is what it is. We're most likely going to be able to kill a handful of them. And then if we don't kill them all, then we can usually just ignore them from there. So on this turn, it's a fairly straightforward turn. We're just going to manipulate our characters just a pinch to make sure that we have high ground on everybody, and then we're going to use Trajan active on turn 4 here in order to get his passive rolling. So go ahead and do that. Attacks come through, making sure we're keeping Dante in range of both Carrion and Karn, finishing the turn with a little Viscous attack. The ads at the bottom, we went ahead and used Biovore active on that far right one in order to try to kill 2 of them. The positioning on them, we're not going to be able to kill all of them. So if we can at least take 2 of them, then we're all good. We're not going to be too concerned from there. So go ahead, drop that Biovore active. Go ahead and get the kill onto at least 2 of those summons. And then the next turn coming up, Cawl is going to use a beam. So the way that our characters are lined up, he is going to line up on these 4 characters here. And he's going to shoot his beam through them, which isn't a huge deal for us. We have a nice little workaround for it. It does kind of suck that Leviscus is going to have to move, and he's not going to have his Crushing Strike for this turn, but we don't do a ton of damage on this turn anyway, so not too concerned about it. I'll go ahead and let the turn play out so you guys can see what that's going to look like, and then we'll talk about it after. There's his movement. Okay, so that's turn 5. There was a lot that happened in that turn. The damage wasn't a super large amount for this turn, but we're really setting up for turn 6, where we are going to do a lot of damage. As you can see, Carrion went right into the beam. So it's a little bit risky to do that, but there's a couple reasons why we do it. The first one, we have Dante active available. So Dante active is going to lower the damage that Cawl is going to be able to do with his beam, which is phenomenal. Carrion already has a lot of base tankiness, and being able to sit in the beam with Dante active, plus having the resilient trait, essentially Cawl is going to have to do double damage onto Carrion's health bar in order to overkill. With the debuff onto his damage from Dante active, it's going to be extremely hard for Carrion to get overkilled. What oftentimes happen in this situation is Carrion will get brought down to 1 HP and live on Resilient, but that's why we have our positioning for Trajan and the Spore the way that we do. So if you're not super familiar with the way that Cawl works, Cawl is going to do his beam, and then he's going to do an attack action afterwards. His attack action, Arc Scourge, is that chain lightning attack where he'll target one person, but then it'll chain to other people if they're adjacent to it. If he Arc Scourges our group of characters that are below him, including Carrion, Carrion's going to die. But by putting Trajan and the Spore away from that group, we're able to get Cawl to actually attack those 2 units, and he sees the Spore as a nice juicy target. He's going to shoot his Arc Scourge there. So really, it might look like Carrion is in danger, but he's actually not. He's not going to get attacked again outside of the beam, so we're able to bring him as low as possible, and we are intentionally putting him into the beam so that he can get the extra hit from Dante's passive. So it's all planned out. That is exactly what we're intending to do. It might look like it's very close, or it might look like we got lucky. It's all calculated. It is all planned. The math has been ran. He is going to survive, and we're going to be able to benefit from that decision. So we go ahead and set that up. Cawl is going to do his beam attack, and ideally, Carrion is going to live on Resilient, and then we're going to be able to keep our high ground, keep our Crushing Strike with Leviscus, keep Trajan, Dante, everybody in range for what they need to do, and we're able to finish out this run with a nice, strong turn 6 hit. So let's go and take a look. There's Carrion living. There's the attack onto the Spore and Trajan, and everything worked out as planned. Okay, we still have Cawl into a position where Leviscus can stay put. He can keep his Crushing Strike. He's got high ground. Carrion is below 50% HP. He is going to be able to do a massive attack with his active this turn. Karn is in a position where he is going to be able to benefit from high ground because he's going to take the spot of Dante. Trajan can move in so that he can be adjacent to Cawl. I mean, we are in good position to kind of round out this run with a nice big hit. So going into this turn, we have 779,000 damage, and you're going to see compared to what we end up with, how much damage we actually do in this turn. So we'll go ahead and let it run. Boom. And then there's our final damage number. So 779,000 to 1.42 million. So a massive turn 6 coming from Naive here. I will rewind it a little bit because I'm going to nitpick on a couple things here. That's the start of the turn. We get those guys moved. Dante is actually in range of Carrion. He is giving him that buff. It might not look like it, but he is. Karn takes the high ground. Laviscus, like I said, has got his high ground and Crushing Strike, so no need to move him. Rajan moves into place here. Start with the Carrion active. If I can get the actual frame. Yep, there's the damage there. Massive damage numbers coming there. So 57,000, maybe 51,000, 46,000. So an absolute massive hit from Carrion active coming through on this turn, which is awesome. Then Naive in this run actually follows up with the Karn active. I would nitpick this a little bit and actually give him a little bit of feedback to change the order of this because he does have Laviscus active as well. Ideally, you would Laviscus active after the Carrion active so that Karn can get the extra crit chance onto his active. So right there, I would have done the Laviscus active first, then use that Karn active, followed up with the Dante, Trajan, and then just had the final Laviscus hit right here instead of using the active, then the big hit. So I think it would have made a little bit of a difference, especially if we would have got crits onto the Carrion active, but it's, at the end of the day, not a huge deal. Just a couple small things, small nitpicking things, like I said. So that's that turn actually played out. The final hit, I missed the frame on it. 228,000 damage on the final hit from Laviscus, which was massive, adds us to a nice turn 6. 1.42 million is the final number. So all in all, that's a great run. Anything above 1.4 for a turn 1 summon run is phenomenal. Very happy with that overall. There's a lot of variance with Cawl and the damage that you can do depending on what he does on turn 1. Beam runs I've seen go up to about 2 million, I think might be the highest one that I've seen. Probably more likely in the range of like 1.8. Shroud runs are going to be in between the summon and the beam runs, oftentimes 1.6, 1.7-ish area. All is going to depend on crit RNGs, though, and if your characters go below sub 50%, specifically Carrion and Karn early on in the fight or not. So there's a lot of RNG in these Cawl fights, but overall, a 1.4 million summon run, very happy with. So that's going to bring us to the end of this run and the end of the video. If you have any specific Cawl questions that you are wondering about, or if you're wondering about like summon runs specifically in general, go ahead and drop those into the comments below. I will be happy to answer those as soon as I possibly can. If you don't have any questions or anything, I appreciate you sticking around for this run. Hopefully you're able to get something out of it, and I'll catch you in the next one. Mog out.